Okay, so how many of you know about Noster, have heard about Noster, are on Noster? See, every time we ask this, we get more hands. Like, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so these four men here have been building on Noster for the past, how long?
I had an NSAC about when Fiat Jeff went on the dispatch. I think that was my first or second. No, it was my second NSAC. And then there was another NSAC, and then the current NSAC is, so it's been probably like a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. I kind of lose track of that.
Yeah, I started looking into Nostr a bit over 2 years ago, I think. But then I piqued my interest when I started coding, which was in November 2022, I think. Yeah.
How many NSACs did you lose?
I don't lose them. What?
Not everyone.
One strategy.
Yeah.
Private keys, NVK. Got to take care of those.
It's hard, but
Yeah.
always hardware that helps.
It's called practicing safe NSEC. Try it.
That was less fun.
I discovered, I guess I'm the noob here. So I discovered Noster in December of 22. So I've been at it for maybe just a little bit over a year. But started building pretty much right away. And shipped the first release of Primal, the very first preview, in March of last year. So we're approaching the anniversary, actually.
Okay, cool. Now, Bernard?
So when FHR first launched the protocol, we had the Telegram group, and there was about 10 of us in there. That was my first NSEC. And then I made the first sort of Twitter clone. And then I actually found my original NSEC because I'd lost it. And I was super excited. And I was like, yeah, I found it again. And then about a month later, I lost it. So yeah, it's the end of that.
You should rename this panel. Should be like, what happened to NVK's NSEX? And
Well, I do have to confess that I did actually lose my NSEC.
Boat accident?
Sorta cleaning accident. Like, I lost my first NSEC, so I created a new one, and then I lost the second one, but immediately I found the first one, so kind of like it canceled each other out.
You're the mod, so you tell us what to talk about.
Okay, so anyway, we're here because we believe in freedom. We believe in freedom of speech, and these men have been building those tools for us. So I'm super proud and humble to actually call them my friends and to talk to them, to ask them to build Basil for me as well. So, so basically, I just want to hear them. I want to ask them, why are you guys motivated in building something like Nostr? You guys were already in Bitcoin. You were like, that's the freedom tool, right? So why is it important to also have a protocol that helps you communicate freely?
So Bitcoin gives you freedom of transaction, right? But you can't transact without communication. Like, people need to talk about what they want to sell and buy or exchange, and so we never, like, the internet's kind of like dying in a way in terms of freedom, and there was nothing that really worked. I mean, Mastodon is crap, Bird got replaced with another name, and then all these things are sort of like going away and closing down, and then boom comes this thing that you guys created, and it was, whoa, this kind of works. And it's simple. It's very triggering for a technical person to read the nips and go like, this is not a good design. And then they go like, wow, this is a really good design. So yeah, no, it's just the capacity of having freedom of information with the payment mode, right? With Bitcoin is how it sort of really got me.
To me, I don't know. I was very passionate about the internet when I was like 10 years old, and I was amazed about all the stuff like that was being built, and I really loved it. And in the past 15 years, the internet started to suck more and more and more and more, and it became like this fucking uniform thing. It all looks the same, like the hero emails, everything looks the same, and it sucks. And I can understand the economic incentives of why everything looks the same, because you have to become a behemoth. It doesn't matter if you sell anything. It's just capture users and just raise more and more money. And that means that you cannot experiment because you must be big. You either exist and are big and huge and take everything, or you don't exist. So you can't experiment and create these really weird experience that would have maybe a total addressable market of 100 people because it is just not economically viable. And I see that in Nostr, we're starting to explore the long tail of like all these weird experiments that could never work at scale, but they don't have to work at scale because we have a social graph that transcends all the use cases. So to me, that I think it's going to allow us to experiment with all these things and allow us to be humans, like allow us to not have to comply to the same form. We need to, when you close your eyes and you know how to use every single application that is on the internet, and being able to experiment, I think is one of the things that makes me the most passionate about.
Yeah, for me, like I'll echo a lot of what Pablo and NVK were saying. So the web had sucked for a little while now with all the perverse incentives that exist everywhere. But then it became outright dystopian a few years ago. Then it became like, holy, is that what we're doing?
Don't worry, it's only going to get worse.
For your safety.
So I feel super safe. And I've been kind of just tinkering with different publishing protocols, decentralized social media type of protocols. I even tried designing my own protocol, which all of the above sucked, including my own, definitely. And the deeper I got into it, the more I realized that the kind of the magnitude of the problem. And then I read into Nostr, which is just like so beautifully simple. And it just hit me like on ton of bricks that this is going to work. And somebody like I was chatting with yesterday explained the protocol to me in 3 words: signed, messages relayed. And then, you know, when you define such a simple protocol, you can build a lot of stuff on top of it. So it's not really how cool the tech is. It's not how, you know, what we can do with it. It's like the actual network that had sprouted on top of it. So you see this first cohort of users that have been willing to suffer through the pains of kind of dealing with very early software. But then you have this entire ecosystem of apps and services that are just like have sprouted out of nowhere, just for people, you know, doing stuff in their own self-interest, building things that they want to build, and users picking those things up. So now we have this network that's getting stronger by the day, both in terms of user base, but also the ecosystems of apps and services. And like Pablo said, it's all based on this open social graph and kind of a shared persistence layer that we can all tap.
No permission.
And we can do it without asking for permission. We can keep expanding it. So if you look at the trajectory of the types of things that have been built over the past few months, let's say, if you look at where we were a year ago, then 6 months ago, then 3 months ago, then now, it's pretty wild. And we're approaching, like a lot of these apps and services are approaching the kind of the level of capabilities and polish of those legacy kind of apps that people are used to, but they're built on this open protocol, and they have all this momentum, and certainly we're not going to stop here. This isn't where it stops. We're just going to zoom past everyone else, and I'm convinced that Nostr will have the most capable and the best UX out there. Like will vastly surpass the legacy systems and just leave them in the dust, and they'll look like relics of the past very soon, I think.
So it's the way I like to think about Nostr is it's just a paradigm shift where you have, before we're used to an internet of smart servers and dumb clients, and now we're building an internet of smart clients, dumb servers. What that means is that the power is with the server administrators or the business or the corporation or whatever, and now the power is with the users, and that's made possible by public key crypto. So really, the revolution is public key crypto, and then Bitcoin is the best value transfer and creation of scarcity and time chain on that platform. And then with Nostr, we have a very easy, with the relays, a very easy paradigm which we can build anything on, really, replace most legacy systems. So social networks, Uber, Amazon. It's funny because with Bitcoin, quite early on, people got very excited around the concepts of Bitcoin, and there were all these ideas for like all these different blockchains, all this different shit. And actually, what they were kind of in the right direction, but what they were excited about was public key crypto and like what that can enable. I think we're just seeing the beginning because it's social media is like one small use case for Nostr, but actually like I don't know, we're working on Nostr IoT, so controlling IoT devices in your house just using a simple Nostr client. And if you were to develop Nostr just for that, like it would be worthwhile. Having the interoperability of users via NIPS and interoperability of functions via NIPS, it just means it all strings it all together and it works. Like I'm still amazed with the Nostr market that Plebeian.market, they run it and we run it on our marketplace as well, and it works. Like it works well, and we can buy and sell stuff, locally from merchant to customer without having this value capture thing in the middle pulling all that value. So yeah, it's a lot to be excited about.
So one of the things that I noticed being on Nostr is that when SAPs were enabled, it was like the first time a lot of people actually had the ability to interact with the Lightning Network, or like not interact, but actually use it as a payment system. Like for the first time, they're like paying for a service, paying for something, sending SAPs because your content is good, so we're using it. And what got my curiosity is that this enabled people in parts of the world where they don't need this. So it was mostly like in the first world, like the United States, Europe. It was the first time these people were actually having to use Lightning Network. But a protocol like Nostr is actually here to empower people that can communicate freely. Do you guys see, and like to me, it looked like these people in these first world nations actually have been stopped from using Bitcoin in its true form because of the comfort that they feel. And Nostr actually brought freedom for them to use their money however they want it for the first time. How do you guys envision Nostr not just empowering people to communicate, but also to be able to, in first world countries where they have never experienced censorship, to be able to walk away from fiat? Do you guys see that Nostr could actually be a step to bring that?
So, I mean, I wasn't a Zap hater on the beginning, but because, it felt weird to be sending, sub-cent transactions to people as a form of endearment kind of thing. But it kind of grew at me, and I ended up like really liking the idea of, instead of pressing just as free like, you have like, you're sending a little bit of value back and forth, and that sort of like started to grow. And then I was in Costa Rica with Paul Tarzan. Some of you know him on the internet, and we were purple peeling and orange peeling at the same time. Because see, what most people need, like most little businesses need, it's not just like a payment machine. They also need a profile somewhere, right? That's why Facebook is so successful outside of North America, is because like this little businesses like the surf shop, right? They will have like their little profile with the location of the business and, how to pay them or what time they're open, that kind of stuff. And it is a fascinating, hard problem because these people can't, like, they're not going to maintain a server. They're not going to have a website in a complicated place. So what they go on Facebook, you create a profile, put the information there, and boom, they're done. And then Facebook goes, hey, why don't you give us like 2-3% and we'll process your payments too? But I don't like you anymore. Boom, you don't exist, right? They'll delete it. Now with Nostr, like they can go on Primal, they create their little surf shop profile, they can accept payments instantly with no fees. And then if you don't like them anymore, like they can just move their NSEC somewhere else. Like it is a super powerful, complete solution for this very sort of low-hanging fruit?
Yeah, I mean, as I think so far we've been experimenting a lot with the SAPs as these like the replacement for the like, which is 1,000 more signal when you're spending something that you cannot just create it again. But I think in the next year we're gonna see a lot more of bigger payments, not sending 1 sat or 20 sats or 1,000 sats, but buying something. Because like it's already starting to happen where companies that have been trying to go at it at creating their own social graph and getting people to go into their site, spending a bunch of money in marketing and creating, follow some friends and find some people, like all this bootstrap process that is super expensive, it's super hard. They've been struggling for the past 5 years, 10 years. If it didn't totally work, it didn't work. So these companies that are limping along, they are starting to look at Nostr. I've been having a lot of these conversations where they're starting to look at Nostr and they're just say, hell, I'm going to rebuild my stack. I'm just going to do my company, all the same stuff, but I'm going to do it on Nostr because that increases the market that I can reach very easily. If these people are selling stuff on their whatever product there is, the payments are there. It's like, it's a part of the protocol in a way. So incorporating SAPs, incorporating Bitcoin is a very natural next step. I think we're going to see a lot more of covers on Nostr, a lot of higher value SAPs, if you will.
I mean, it's important to just note that like the stack, the curve is the same as Bitcoin, and like the crypto stack and the technical part is very close to Bitcoin in a way. So it's very natural for the people who are building on Bitcoin to do Nostr, for Nostr to do Bitcoin, even though we still have a few Nostr derangement syndrome Bitcoin people, but we're going to get to them.
We'll take care of them for sure. Nostr deniers, blue checks, they'll figure it out. So anyway, your question was, can Nostr move the needle on Bitcoin adoption? Let's see. Nostr is already the global directory of Bitcoin Lightning addresses. So if you want to send somebody a Lightning payment, you can do so. You can look them up on Nostr and send them a payment. You don't need any other information, provided that they're on Nostr, and more people are on Nostr every day. Now, you could do that using Primal, but you can do that using any Bitcoin wallet that taps into the Nostr network. So Primal and Mutiny, for example, are on the same network. Primal users can pay a Mutiny user easily enough as if they were on the same app, because kind of they are. Nostr is that app. So Nostr is already the social layer for Bitcoiners. And as Bitcoin grows to everyone, Nostr will be the social layer of the world.
I kind of feel that is probably with Nostr. So we were in the Human Rights Foundation, the Oslo Freedom Forum, and then we were onboarding activists in Nostr, and then we just brief explanation within a few minutes, and they get it. They're like, okay, this makes perfect sense. This is a way for us to bypass censorship in countries where they have it. And then they go on to the clients, and then there's a bunch of Bitcoiners speaking Bitcoin. And for us, we love it, but for them, it's kind of difficult. So I feel that because we have Zaps integrated into Nostr, and because Bitcoin skeptics who've come into Nostr are now seeing Bitcoin's power and what it's capable of, I kind of feel that we want to onboard non-Bitcoiners and not have it as this Bitcoin platform. So it's kind of the other way around when it comes to the chicken and the egg. Like we have it as this thing where they're then using Bitcoin and then they go, oh wow, this Bitcoin thing actually works, it's useful. And I would like to see more clients, rather than just packaging in, 10 Bitcoin thought leaders and then filling your global feed with that. I would like to see them more interest focused, so you can. Sorry, I'm not. Does anyone do that? Do you do that in Primal?
We're constantly working on kind of upgrading the onboarding process, and yeah, I totally agree with you.
For now, it makes sense because because our users are mostly Bitcoiners, and there is something else I really like about Nostr, because for years, is Jack here? He's not here. For years, Bitcoiners were like, "Can we have Bitcoin payments in Twitter?" Because clearly, it's very powerful, like we've all been saying, to be able to send little microtransactions through a social network and pay for stuff and, tip each other and whatever else. Paywall content, that's going to be great in Lustre. But for whatever reason, like Jack couldn't do that. So it's almost like we got to the point where we're so frustrated, we're like, okay, fine, we're just going to go build another Twitter where we can actually have Bitcoin payments.
Twitter was the semantic of Twitter was all built by the users, right? The @ and everything. And Jack is always talking about that, right? And it's funny because the Nostr thing kind of happened that way too, right? Remember, everybody was posting lightning invoices. And it's like, why we're doing this, right? And then like it was Will who had the great idea of like building this into like, a protocol that we can all use.
Yeah, there's something with Nostr how not having to faff around with QR codes, just being able to click a button and say, hey.
I mean, QR codes are a shitcoin, people love them, but like it's not as great as people think. We need to just integrate the things further in.
QR code PTSD from COVID.
Let's back up a sec. Let's make a bigger deal out of what you just said there a second ago with Will coming up with this invention of Zaps for his app, Damos. And then everyone on Nostr, every app was able to tap into this. How insane is this? Now think about like the level of innovation that's happening, the amount of building that's being done here by all kinds of different actors. Every good idea will be replicated in other clients, and bad ideas will just like fall off.
I'm really curious to see where the DVM, I don't know if this is too deep for this panel, but the DVM market, like the data vending machines, it's kind of like gift wraps, or like, you can essentially ask a program to do something through Nostr. Like, this is really where things explode. Like, and you can't do this on Twitter, right? Like, it's kind of like the Unleash thing with I can tap into all the universe of content social graph without permission. It's kind of big.
And without getting shut down, because a lot of companies were doing that, getting the fire hose of the Twitter data, and you build a business on that, and you get cut.
I mean, you can't grok Twitter, right? You have to use grok, right? So on Nostr, it's like, it's all there.
And like, of course, like, Bitcoiners were very used to public key crypto, so it's going to be something which comes out of the Bitcoin community, but also very good at designing protocols, particularly people like Fearjaff, with the LNURL, and obviously Bitcoin as well with the BIP system. So we've had our experience of being able to build good protocols which are interoperable across clients. So it definitely makes sense that it would come from Bitcoiners, but this is something which we need to roll out to the whole world for sure.
Okay, I have one last question, and we have like 3 minutes left. So please, guys, just answer this one. Last night, someone asked me, how is it that we're going to click? This is the question we get all the time. So basically, Nostr is censorship resistant, it's free communications, we can send money back and forth. How do we stop like pedophiles and like sex content from being on that? I always answer like, we don't. But I want to hear your opinion, especially Miljan's, because his Primal, his app has like a very good filter, and I want to hear his opinion on this one, and then
So obviously at the protocol level, you can't stop anything, right? That's the only way something like this can work. But most users don't want to see everything. Most users want to have some sort of a set of tools that help them kind of curate the content that they wish to see and that they don't wish to see. So the answer is to build those tools. And we're building those tools at Primal. Other people are building the similar types of tools. And it's up to the user to decide which tools they wish to use. And in a perfect world, the dream is that all of these tools and services are interoperable. So that from any client, you can select the services that you wish to subscribe to, like filtering services or even like feed curation services and stuff like that. So I hope that we can get there maybe this year, where from a multiple different types of clients, you can work with different types of services.
It's not censorship if you have an alternative, right? Filtering is a great thing, right? If you don't want to see my posts, you don't have to, right? But and But the problem is the public square is on Twitter. I refuse to call it by the new name. And you don't have an alternative, right? Like you have to use what they provide you, right? Like you can't bypass their filters, their algos. On Nostr, if you decide to make a more a family-friendly, experience, but maybe I want to see like robots like shooting each other or something, right? I can simply like use a different client that doesn't filter for that kind of content. I mean, assuming that maybe you have a button for me to cancel the filter, but the key here is filtering is not censorship; it's just choice. As long as you have the choice.
And the user has a choice. The balance of power has shifted forever when we started holding our keys to our identities and our social connections and our speech. And if people don't like the way Primal does things, they pick up their key and go somewhere else. And kind of the market sorts itself out like this. The user has this power, and the market will ensure that there are products and services that cater to 1,000 different types of users. This is going to be glorious to watch unfold.
I mean, reading events on Nostr at the protocol level is a pull system. You are saying, give me data from these people. So you are very much in control. At the protocol level, you're very much, even, you don't say, give me the people that I follow, the contact from the people I follow. You say, give me all these 700 pubkeys content. It's quite literally like that.
It's like a browser. People are going to look at stuff on a browser. Can you blame the browser for them using that piece of software to go look at something? I'm not sure you can, because it's a pull system. And Bitcoin, Nostr does have censorship. It probably has more censorship than Twitter, but it's a censorship which we can control. And if we don't like how a relay is censoring, maybe a relay censors to make a more family-friendly experience, and that's the relay you connect to, and it'll filter. I think filtering is censorship, and self-censorship as well. Like we have lots of different varieties of censorship, but it's not censorship which is controlled by a corporation in a certain legal jurisdiction, which has certain political interests. And then when it comes to content, which, illicit content, like it's something which is just a browser. Like you're deciding where you want to go inside that browser. And if you want freedom of speech, we have Freedom of Movement Association. And if people are doing inappropriate things, then that's the job of like law enforcement and everything to try and track those people down. And just like within the Tor network. It's not. I don't think it's something. All we need to worry about for as developers building Nostr experiences is just to not have people exposed to content which is going to cause any harm or damage. And I think that's what you're doing with Primal, which is great.
So basically, we just heard this for men that are building the tools that give us freedom and a choice. So the most important part about freedom is that we get a choice. And I want everyone to thank them for their time because they're giving us choices. Thank you, guys.